Call to order. Adoption of agenda. Adoption of agenda.
Your worship, one late, no, sorry, that's the next section.
Can I get a seconder?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Adoption of minutes.
Minutes of the regular council meeting held on August 18th, 2021.
Can I get a seconder?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Introduction of late items.
One late item, your worship, which I recommend be placed as item number, T. It's in regards to information with respect to the entrepreneurial development program for youth, and a request that basically this be brought to the attention of council and just for general information.
Yeah, this is applied deadline is August 29th. Okay. Public hearing none. Delegation was canceled. Unfinished business arising from the minutes.
First item, your worship, is appointments to the Northern Development Initiative Trust and to South Peace Health. Motions at some point in time are still required in regards to the appointments to these two agencies.
I think this should be tabled until all the council is at the table.
If that's the desire of council, then there should be a motion to, really the motion should be to postpone until such time as is full attendance of council after the by-election, if that's the wish of council.
If we make the motions, would you be comfortable with bringing it back after the...
When the other council's here. Bring it back. Because we have to give them their portfolios anyway.
Yeah, I know. So could we not just make a motion tonight and then just really come in and...
No, I can just, I want a table. It can be tabled. I don't see why it can't be tabled.
Councillor Smith?
I'm not seconding the motion. I would like to have the appointments done.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll make a motion that Councillor Smith represent the NDIT and South East Health Council.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
The Health Peace Health Council is not an appointment. The mayor started that as a board. The mayor started that one. That one does not get anybody but the mayor. It stays as the mayor. There's no bylaw. There's nothing. I am the mayor, and the mayor is appointed that. That is the mayor's position. I started it. We can talk about the NDIT.
So, sorry, Councillor Hebert. So the motion was, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you with the mask.
Well, sorry. Make a motion that Councillor Smith sit on the boards for NDIT and South Peace Health.
No, no, it's the mayor's. It's not a council's decision.
Can I just
For
get
this.
this? Your phone, there's a lot of stuff going
I'll
on.
second
It's
your motion.
It's like the meeting out in the fire department.
Sorry here.
Well, I could certainly check into that, I suppose. I'm not aware whether a formal motion is required for South Peace Health. You could just deal with the one tonight if you wish, but it would require a seconder to the motion. Your motion, which I understand is to appoint Councillor Smith as the village's representative on NDIT.
That isn't the motion she made.
Are we amending the motion she made?
No, so the motion you made was?
Was for both,
Was for both.
NDIT and South Peace Health.
And was there a seconder to that?
Yes.
Yeah, so you could amend the motion to just delete South Peace Health, if you wish. And then you'd just be dealing with NDIT.
And you will look into South Peace Health?
I'll research whether a motion is required. Yeah.
Okay.
I need a designated representative to talk to, but I can work on that.
That would be Kathleen Connolly?
I'm sorry?
That would be Kathleen Connolly?
I'm not sure. I
Yeah,
have
that's
to
who you
research.
talked to.
So is there a motion to amend the motion to delete South Peace Health?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Unfinished business arising from the minutes.
Oh,
B.
there should be a motion now or a vote on the motion as amended, which is that Councillor Smith be appointed, Councillor Smith be appointed as the village's representative on NDIT. So we need a vote on that. That would be the motion as amended.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? I want it noted that no. That the mayor's not in agreement.
Any are opposed? So noted. Okay.
So B, previous items of follow-up from council, action item list, read background checks for supervision of children during civic events, update on 988 suicide crisis intervention hotline, verbal report update to given at the meeting. Can I get a second?
Second?
Discussion? Doug, you're up.
Okay, great. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I phoned NIPC with regard to in particular the slip and slide, but we got into a general discussion on civic events, and there's different categories that it falls into. One is something sponsored and run by the village, which, when that occurs, we will have MIABC coverage, insurance coverage, and we would need to do criminal history checks for those running the event. The other category, pardon me, is the having equipment, be similar to having equipment in a playground and everyone can come and use it as they wish. It's unsupervised and not specifically run for any event by the village. In that case, we will still have insurance coverage for that for people to use it. And of course, with any of these, you have to do your due diligence, make sure all safety protocols and requirements are met. The next category is for the village to say have Rotary do an event and run it on behalf of the village. And if the village requested them to do it and they agreed and they ran an event, we could have them added to our insurance as an additional named insured for that one event.
But Doug, we were talking about the fire hall, and the fire hall already has criminal checks.
Yes.
They're already covered under that, and that's what I was talking about, was that.
Yes.
And we
well,
don't normally have volunteers anymore. It's usually paid staff for July 1st and the truck rally and all those other things.
Yeah, because the fire department is part of the village, and if they took that on behalf of the village, they already have criminal history checks. So we would have MIABC insurance for instance, the slip and slide that was proposed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the quick answer.
So really, this is just for information. I think you were asking as well in regards to, what due diligence we should probably do for future events of this nature. So this is good information to know. We did receive some printed material from OIA as well. So certainly if the parameters of the event change and, you know, there's going to be volunteers from the public, these are steps which we should, you know, put into place.
But does staff have criminal checks?
Not necessarily.
If they're doing our events, they should have a criminal check,
Yeah.
right?
Well, again, there's all sorts of permutations and combinations in regards to, you know, what the type of event is, who's participating, who's supervising the kids, is it being done by a third party? So basically what Doug has proposed is that, or suggested, or outlined are the best practices in regards to coverage. So we have to, you know, every event would be specific to the particular time, place, and who's going to be involved, and we'd have to do our due diligence.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. The second update, Your Worship, I believe I was asked to just check in with what's the status of the 988 suicide and crisis prevention hotline.
Yeah.
I did check with the region and they said, no, they received the same letters that we did and they were just received and filed. So they were just received and filed for information.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
really, the issue hasn't really changed since we were last notified of this. So just following up on that
That's crazy.
for information.
New business.
The 2020 annual report. So I've asked Doug to be in on this one because kudos to him. He took the lion's share along with Pauline and staff in pulling this together. First off, just for the record, I should note that there are no members of the public in attendance who wish to speak to it because we were required to do a statutory notice to advertise it in the paper. And it really shouldn't be adopted before the public's being given an opportunity to comment or make representations. We didn't receive any letters. We haven't received anything from the public. So it's now open to council to ask any questions. Doug is on the line. He knows most about this. If you have any questions with the annual report. And if not, then just a motion to accept and approve the annual report, and then we'll post it on the website and do other things that we need to do with it.
Councillor Smith.
I have a question.
Certainly.
Fire department, funding for the Cooskooby Fire Department comes from various grants. And it's, which, you know, I mean, what grants? I haven't seen it, and I've seen further in that thing what we have, our grant writer had put a list of what he applied for grants, and there was nothing in there fire department. So I just not
I'll
trying
speak to that. That would be from the Ovintiv. Gave them grants. That was to the association that grants were. So that's where that comes from.
But do we know how much, or?
Doug, do you have any comments on that question? Did you hear it?
I couldn't hear it clearly, Gary.
It was a question from Councillor Smith in regards to, there's reference in the annual report about grants for the fire department. Can you provide any specifics in regards to the nature of those grants?
Yes, that calculation arose from what the basic fire department costs. Now, we get grants from the provincial government. One is for the what we used to call the fair share, and we also get a grant from the province for the small community protection grants, and those were added together and basically shared among all the budget captions on the bylaw on a pro rata share based on budget amount.
So Doug, where did all the grants go from Ovintiv and TransCanada?
Sorry, I couldn't pick up on that. What was that, Gary?
Ovintiv gave them money, and so did TransCanada. Did you hear me?
It's very echoey.
Yeah, the frickin' heater's going.
I just turned it off, but it's gonna take a
Um,
second for it to shut down.
2 oil companies donated them money in 2020. Council was invited to one, and then it was during the day, and I had to go over when the other one donated.
I still am having difficulty hearing the question.
I can recap for you here, Doug. The mayor's asking about a couple of grants from the oil industry, Ovintiv, and then another one. And then it might be worthwhile maybe commenting on the grant from Area D as well.
Yeah.
Well, as we mentioned at the last meeting, the grants were primarily those 2 primary grants. I didn't take into consideration any one-time grants from other agencies. And we're just trying to say, these are the grants that we rely on. These are the grants that we count on annually. And if we are to share them among all the departments, this is shared based on budget amount. So you're right, we didn't share, for instance, the Sundry grants. For instance, the $223,000 we received from the feds in the province. That was specific to COVID prevention and reduction. So we didn't really factor that in as well. So we did. So the grants used were the ones we always rely on and count on. The contract with Area D was considered and deducted as a source of funds to arrive at the $18,240. So we just use those 2 basic grants and the contract with Area D. That's the only thing we used to reduce, to factor into the fire department calculation.
So the net cost of the village of Pooskoopie, approximately $18,240 is what the taxpayers are paying.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that, if I can just add, that represents approximately 4.98% of the total tax levy. And the $260,880 represents approximately 8.86% of the total budget.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members of council? with respect to the
Yeah,
annual
there
report?
was, where it said staff, wherever that is, my papers are low. We are missing a member of the Public Works. He was working in 2020.
Did you hear that, Doug?
No, I did not hear.
The mayor indicated that in reference to staff, I guess it's, it's on PIF 15 of the agenda package. We are missing a representative from Public Works. And who might that be?
I'm not saying that on camera, because people don't need to know that on camera.
Well,
I can hand you this. Here, I
well,
can hand you this.
okay. Well, the annual report is a public document, so if the name needs to be added, it's going to be public.
Christina.
Okay. Well, we can make that amendment before adoption of the document.
There is one correction that was brought to my attention before I left. That is on page 12, on the permissive tax exemptions. The third item, the Senior Citizen Association Branch 105. There's a transposition of numbers there. The correct amount is $523.
It's not page 12. Hold it.
Yeah, Doug, hold on just a sec.
It's not page 12.
we need to find the page, because the page numbering is different in the budget. So it's under the permissive exemptions section.
22 will be agenda.
Okay.
So can you go over that again?
Yes, absolutely. It's on under the permissive tax exemptions.
Yeah.
The third organization, Senior Citizens Association,
Right.
branch 105. There is a transposition of numbers. The correct amount is $523 and not $253.
Well, you have 523 on ours.
Yeah.
But there's also the Legion. We paid for their taxes last year too. Do you
As a
remember?
donation.
Yeah.
Yes,
As a
that
donation.
wasn't a permissive exemption.
Okay.
So what's that correct number again, Doug? Just for certainty, Senior Citizens Association, what's the number again?
523.
523. Okay. Any other questions, Your Worship, or members of council on the?
No, I'm good with that.
So I think the motion then should be that the annual report be amended or revised to include any corrections with respect to the permissive exemptions and to note the additional employee from Public Works and be adopted as amended.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Screwed up the agenda.
Thanks for your work on that, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay. You're welcome.
So Doug, we're going to go through the correspondence and hopefully it will be relatively expeditious because the next item after the correspondence is your report on the budget amendment. So do you mind putting your phone on mute and just staying on the line?
I will do. You bet.
Okay, thank you very much.
I heard dog barking.
It's my phone.
Can you shut it off, please? There's the next, so we'll put these in for information and we will do complaint received number D. Complaint received from residents are roaming cats.
Your Worship, the only comment the complainant is asking that we revisit our regulations with regards to roaming cats, and I did ask the bylaw enforcement officer to just tune me up a little bit on what Dawson Creek is doing, and you may already know this, but in their bylaw, it does state that no owner will permit the owner's animal to be at large in the city. An animal includes any domestic animal, including livestock, so basically that would include cats. And then at large means in any or upon a highway or public place, or in or upon the lands or premises of any person other than the owner of the animal, without the express permission of the owner. So the complainant appears to be, from my understanding of the request, for us to relook at our policies with respect to cats at large, because currently we do not have the similar wording where it would be a finable offense for a licensed cat to be at large.
Well, can we? Because there's lots up in Dokesville running around at large.
It's a policy decision. Again, my understanding, and I stand to be corrected, is that cats are licensed in the village, correct? But if they're caught at large, off the owner's premises, they're not fined.
Right. So maybe we should find the residents and then.
Yeah, so basically I think the letter writer is probably asking that we institute a program where that would be a finable offense. So we need to amend our bylaws if that's the policy decision that council wants to go.
I'll make that motion. That we change the policy to reflect what Dawson says, Dawson Creek's. Carla?
Seconder?
Can I have a seconder?
I don't want to follow Dawson Creek just because, whatever. I think what I would like is we look at the options, what we can do, not just jump. I'm thinking if cats have to be licensed, we have a bylaw officer, we have cat traps. Could this resident set up some cat traps around on his property, catch these cats and find out
Who owns them?
who owns them?
And then what?
Well, the owner is going to have to retrieve his cat.
Well, we had that happen up in Dokesville a couple of years ago, and one lady actually got hurt because she was going to take the cat back to the person. But she actually got thrown to the ground and she got her head banged on the pavement, which was not a good scene.
Well, I'm just saying. We have to look at all the options, not
Sure.
just,
Yeah, certainly it's an option for you to refer this back to staff. We'll consult further with the bylaw enforcement officer. And we can come back with, a report with any options. And this would be one of the options to amend the bylaw as per Dawson Creek or have similar kind of wording. That obviously has enforcement implications, potential costs, but we could certainly look at the issue and propose maybe there's a couple of alternative options. So the motion would be, if it's your pleasure, to refer it back to staff. And
Yeah, I'm good with that. All in favor?
is there a seconder then? To refer?
I'm seconding it. All in favor?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you.
And you wanted G, manager?
Only because the letter writer is asking council whether you wish to resume, and my understanding is there used to be kind of regular meetings or periodic meetings with the BC Oil and Gas Commission outside of council meetings. So what they're asking is whether council is interested in, scheduling some periodic meetings with the BC Oil and Gas Commission outside of the regular council meeting process. It's just a request.
Councillor,
Could we wait until after the election and then we have,
well, he wants an answer, so we can put it on, say, yes, we want to meet with them, and then we can delegate it to somebody to have it.
yeah.
Is that okay, Gary?
Sure.
Can I get a seconder on that one, on that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
So the motion is basically to wait for the by-election, after the by-election, bring it back, and it would be a portfolio appointment.
Well, actually, let him know that
Oh,
we would
yes,
like to
certainly.
see him.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Yeah. And then, H, land use application referral forms forwarded by the Peace River Regional District for information and comment if deemed appropriate.
Yeah.
Those are deadlines are gone.
Well, I know, but, and that's often the case. The regional districts will send these out and, they have a certain time period for response, but it's not a hard time period.
I really don't understand why we have Fort St. John. We're worried about what Fort St. John's doing or what Leonard's doing in his area.
Well, this is council's pleasure. I always made it a practice that when these referrals come in from the regional district, I at least bring them to the attention of council so that they're out there. Very seldom would we be requiring any work to be done on these, but just so that they're out there. And I'm not really too concerned about number I, because it's north. I think it's closer to Fort St. John. But
It is, yeah.
with respect to number 2, that's pretty close to Poos. And I did ask our planning consultant to just take a quick look at this. Is there anything we need to bring to council's attention? And here's what her response was. The only thing that jumped out at me is that they are just outside the fire protection area. They are literally the next quarter section over. There are other homes in the area as well, also outside of the fire protection area as viewed on the regional district's web map. I have this is Katrin, the planning consultant. I have no concerns for this OCP rezoning, as it is well outside the village. In addition, the other properties just to the east are also designated medium-density residential and zoned R4. So this application isn't out of place out there from a land use perspective. It's outside of the ALR reserve as well. So she doesn't have any concerns, but I just think it's important that my advice would be that we continue to put these on an agenda just so that you know they're out there.
Oh, yeah. But I really don't think that it's any of our business, because we sure don't want Leonard or anybody else telling us what to do in Poo Scoopy. So I really don't think that we should really have a say over Poo Scoopy or Fort St. John, or Regional District and Fort St. John.
Well, no, yeah, fair comment.
We put it on
Statutorily,
as
you do have the right. You do have the right to make comments.
Oh, I know we do.
But anyway, it's just for information. No motion required if you don't want to raise the issue. Or
No. Well, we can't because it's expired. Poo Scoopy Museum Re-Harvest Tea and Bake Sale donation request.
Your Worship, they're just requesting a donation for the Harvest Tea and Bake Sale. And my recommendation is just provide direction on the request, whether you wish to make a financial donation towards the door prizes and the silent auction.
Doug, are you still on the phone? Hello?
Hello, Doug.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Can you tell me what last year's donation was?
Last year's,
Yeah, Doug, there's a letter from the museum requesting a donation for the Harvest Tea and Bake Sale towards their door prizes and silent auction. Their question is, do you have it at your fingertips what the donation was last year that the village made?
no, I have no idea.
Can we look into that and then donate the same?
Yeah, I think that's the motion, that we make an equivalent donation to last year.
Yeah.
Is that the motion?
Yeah. Can I get a seconder?
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next item, request for installation of a speed hump on Hospital Road. So we have a speed bump hump. I've heard it called both ways. The request is for the installation of a speed hump or a bump in proximity to 5200 Hospital Road, speed bump. And the nature of the concern is the speed of vehicles that I guess are turning the corner and exiting the highway. So for council's consideration, we talked about this I think last week, but maybe there needs to be a bit of a process, but my understanding is that these types of requests are typically brought to council. Now keep in mind that we're getting pretty late in the year, and Blair told me that usually they start removing those, I believe, around the beginning of October or something like that.
Yeah, so can't we just put it on the next year's
Certainly.
plan?
I just want to ask a question. Are they talking Hospital Road or are they talking 52nd Street?
52nd. It's 52nd all the way to the end of your house.
Okay, but the request was for Hospital
Well,
Road.
because it used to be called Hospital Road? No.
I thought the road, the Hospital Road in front was called Hospital Road. But that's, I'm just asking
5200
clarification.
Hospital Road is what that street used to be called. It's 52nd Street now.
But certainly we could, that's probably what I would be recommending at this stage of the game and where we are in the year. Bring it forward for consideration next year.
Sure.
Is there a mover and a seconder?
Oh, second. Oh, I'll move it. Or I can't move it.
I just want to comment that with people coming off of the highway and instead of doing a stop, they're just racing straight through, which is what the issue is. And I think I brought it up before that perhaps a four-way stop
There already is a four-way stop there.
Is there?
No.
Yeah, right back,
No, there's not a four-way stop there.
There's one right there. There's a stop sign on the corner of the blue house.
no,
And there's a stop
that's what I'm
sign,
talking about, yeah.
but that's not a four-way stop.
It's
The
over to,
51st Avenue
It's a through.
is a through.
but they don't even stop at those stop signs though.
No, but I'm thinking that if someone's approaching on 51st, someone zooms by in front of them, at least they're going to be stopping and can look to see if there's somebody flying at them.
I think it's more coming off the highway and coming down Trombley Road, Trombley Trail, and flying through there and going straight out, and they don't even stop at the stop sign, and then they
Oh, yeah.
fly by, and then they go down the highway,
Yeah,
right? So there's gotta be some kind of a bumps to stop them. Like, I really, really like that one outside in front of, Trombley House. But that would be a costly one.
that's a pipe.
I know,
Yeah.
I know, cemented in.
I think I would like to suggest that we evaluate our speed bumps next spring
And the policy?
and the policy. How it's decided where and whatever.
We could certainly, the motion as I understand it, or the direction appears to be that we would basically bring this one forward, put it on the list for
Actually,
consideration.
Gary, I'm gonna stop you right there. It's actually a conflict for Counselor Smith to be sitting here because she lives on 52nd Avenue, and it's a conflict for me because my in-laws live on 52nd Avenue. So I think we should need to table this one until we have an actual council.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I think that's what we need to do.
Well, a motion to postpone would preempt a motion to put this on the list. So if there's a
Yeah.
motion to postpone.
So we
Point
don't
of order, this is not a conflict of interest because I do not receive any fiduciary. And that's, yeah, I'm just making.
I'm just saying, Barb, we're in enough crap with people. I don't think we should be commenting right now on that street.
But we weren't making any decisions, all we were doing, yeah, okay.
I'm just, you want the residents to be up in arms? I think that they would.
So is there a motion to postpone then?
Yes, I will make that motion to postpone.
Until after the by-election and the appointment of a full council.
Yeah, because then me and Barb can step out of the room.
Is there a seconder?
Yeah. Are you stepping in?
Yes.
I am. All in favor?
I'm gonna, okay.
Next item, Your Worship, Iron Wolf Athletics, proposal for upgrading of the current ball diamonds. The gentleman representing this organization has written a letter. He'd like to enter into a dialogue with the village on a possible joint venture for upgrading of the ball fields, and he notes some other agencies that may be involved. So we're recommending that this is a matter that should be referred back to staff, and we could certainly invite him to attend a council meeting to further get into some of the specifics, but he just wanted to raise this at this time. So I'm recommending that it be referred back to staff for further discussions with the letter writer and a future report containing more details and specifics be provided to council.
I agree. Second that. Barb, are you seconding that? Yeah, you said you agree. All in favor?
Who is the mover?
Me. Okay.
M, a Peace River Regional District assessment report on the existing radio repeater system used for the fire department communications within the region. Councillor Smith brought this to the last meeting, but also we did receive it via the regional district. It's an extensive technical document. And it's very, very technical oriented. I think it should just be received at this time. I mean, clearly there's a lot of work that has to be done by staff. Certainly the fire chief is aware of this, but really there's a number of recommendations on page 30 of your agenda that the consultants are making. But what needs to happen now is there has to be further information brought back to the board and to councils, specifically with cost and how this is going to be allocated.
Councillor Smith?
No decisions have been made.
No.
And so the fire chief are all working together because the crux of it is radios don't work with different fire departments or whatever. But when they do decide which one they would like to go with, it is going to be a cost to the village. And that's all I'm saying, that future, there's going to be an added cost for the village.
Most certainly.
So we just want to table this?
No, I think it should just be, I don't even think you need a motion. It can be captured under the last motion at the end. I think it's just received for information at this time. But
So,
clearly there's
I
going to
don't
be
want
more.
this to be dropped off the table. I want this to be able to be,
Well, then you could pass a motion that the correspondence be specifically received, and that the expectation is that there'll be a further discussion and information coming from the region on this, and there will be, for sure.
okay, I'll use your motion.
Pardon me?
I'll get your motion, what you just said.
I'll second it.
All in favor? And then we have, I want to do N, because it says Ministry of Citizens Service, high-speed connectivity in the North BC.
That was really just for information. The one that I was noting was number P, Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, request for a letter of support for federal funding of the Pine Pass Bridge projects. The province is applying to the feds under a bunch of grant programs, and they'd like a letter of support from some of the region's municipalities.
Yeah, but I want to go back to that one.
Oh, okay.
The high-speed connective northern BC, because they did invent the regional district. And I'm just wondering if there have any meetings have come up on that part.
No, nothing as yet. They're still brainstorming on what different channels, what different areas need different tweaking for internet.
Okay, go ahead, Gary.
Well, again, item number P, the Ministry of Transportation, they're requesting a letter of support for federal funding for the Pine Pass Bridge projects, because their province is making a grant to the feds under a number of grant programs for funding for these particular projects, and they'd like regional municipalities to kind of write a letter of support.
Councillor Smith?
Funding for bridge projects. I think some of the issues in our transportation is we have overpasses on Highway 97 that big oil and gas, whatever, cannot truck in because of those overpasses, the railway and that. So they have to come in by Alberta. Is that something that they should be looking at also besides the bridge projects?
This bridge project would be for Ministry of Transportation. That other bridge would be CN. So we'd have to write a letter to CN for that request.
But doesn't that have to do, okay, I thought that would be Minister of Highways because that's transportation also, whether it's rail or road.
Yeah, this is a pretty specific.
I know.
140-41?
To replace the Big Boulder Creek, Martin Creek, and
Yeah.
Lilico Creek structures east of Lamore, BC.
Mount Lamore.
Lamore?
Mount Lamore? It's
Yeah,
where
so
the-
it's
it's where
pretty
the-
specific.
It's where there are those houses are and stuff like that. There's a bridge up there, and it's very old. You know which one I'm talking about, Ryan?
It's council's pleasure whether you wish to support them in this application.
I'm for it.
If the Pine Pass is a major route for us to be in contact with the rest of British Columbia to the south of us, yes, we do need to support this.
Yes.
Is there a motion then to that effect?
What Marlene said.
Yeah, I make a motion that we send a letter of support.
I'll second.
All in favor?
And Your Worship, that, from my perspective, basically covers off the letters I think that they were seeking some direction from council on. So if there's no further comments on any of the other ones, just an omnibus motion to receive the rest of them.
What about T Next Generation Program, Youth Program?
Again, I don't think they're asking for any action other than to bring it to the attention of council.
Can we email them and thank them for giving us this
Certainly.
information?
Certainly.
Can I get a seconder on that?
Second.
All in favor? And then we receive the rest of the correspondence?
Yeah, just in an omnibus motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor? So is Doug gone?
Nope.
So it says bylaws A, report from interim CFO, read 2021-25 financial plan, note bylaw attachment for consideration of necessary readings.
So, Your Worship, this is Doug's project. He spent a lot of time on this, and this is part and parcel of the review of the projects.
Maybe he's there.
And basically, I'm going to ask Doug to overview his report. There is a bylaw attached, a budget amendment bylaw that will require 3 readings this evening and then adoption at the next council meeting. But I'll ask Doug to take it from here and to overview his report, please.
Thank you, Gary. I know the report is brief because there are so many issues. If I wrote on them, you would have a 20-page report, and I didn't want to do that to you. I think some of these I can verbally summarize. That's on your agenda on the front page of the report. The first item is consulting, $104,340. That includes all the consultants being used. That's including Tracy. So that's Don, Doug, Gary, and Tracy. And I did deduct off the cost any savings from staff who are off on leave. So that is a net amount of $104,340.
So where's Urban Systems? Would they not be in consulting?
Well, these are amendments to the bylaw.
But
To the extent.
I know that Urban Systems cost us more money. So where is that?
Doug, do these include Urban Systems Consulting's costs?
Oh, no. Well, not directly. That is already included. Okay, can we come to that at the end?
Okay.
Because we have a budget in, they're captured in 2 areas. One is in consulting, in general government, and the other portion of that they are included in the bylaw itself specifically, they are in capital and special projects. So they are in 2 places. So they are covered in both areas, in particular capital and special projects. Does that answer the question, Your Worship?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward on the capital special projects.
Yeah, we're not double counting the consulting there. On the capital and special projects, they charge specifically for each project, where in general government, that's pretty much an advisory consulting budget, not specific to anything in the capital or special projects. So that was the consulting costs. The next item was legal costs. And, things always don't, things change during the year from when you adopted the budget. And that's why we are permitted by law to amend the budget. So, when we have amendments, it's not
Is that
not
old
bad.
amendment?
It's not,
I'd like the old amendments. Where are those?
sorry, I can't hear.
We didn't get the old amendments,
The old amendment?
like the old ones. We didn't get the old numbers with this. But anyway, you can continue.
No, I didn't give you the old numbers with it. I just gave you what the adjustment's gonna be. Is that what you would like?
Well, I would have, but that's okay.
Can you carry on, Doug? Thanks.
Okay. So the legal expense is covered. Basically what I did was I took the amount of what we paid for legal already, and I deducted the cost to construct agendas, and came to an average amount per month. And I said, okay, we paid this much already. We have the remaining months would be 5 times the amount of the average, which is an increase, of course. And then I added back the amount that we paid to construct the agenda. So I came to a total cost, then less the amount already budgeted, and I calculated an additional 66,000 would be needed this year, 66,700.
More than what we budgeted? Because I thought we budgeted about 45,000.
The original budget was 35,000.
Okay.
Then liability insurance, we'd already spent approximately 12,000, and we budgeted 98, so we have a shortfall of $2,050. So that's included in the adjustment as well. The information and technology and material and supplies, the same thing. I calculated what we were spending per month, and calculated that out for the remaining 5 months. And I deducted the amount in the budget already at 49,000, and calculated that we needed 24,220 for the rest of the year, assuming the amount of expenditures are going to continue. Now, you have to keep in mind in budget amendments, we are planning for the worst but hoping for the best. So there's that aspect to it. So this is what I consider the worst case scenario.
So what did we have for budgeted for that?
We had 49,000 budgeted for that.
Okay.
And the next item is the garbage collection and disposal. And I use the same principles: how much we've paid already, how many remaining months, and with the budgeted amount of, we already budgeted 83,965. I calculate we're going to need 93,960
More.
plus for the disposal. So we're going to need an extra 15,640 to cover the remainder of the year.
And these are all shortfalls, right?
So what's that?
These are all shortfalls. There's no,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I'm anticipating a shortfall there, Your Worship.
Oh, I hope so.
Unless, the end of the year we'll know for sure, right? But right now, I'm just trying to keep council out of jail.
I need a holiday. Streets and lanes, please.
The streets and lanes, once again, I calculated what we were spending on a monthly basis, and because winter is coming, we're going to have some freeze up soon. I only added another 2 months to the calculation, and that the amount we had budgeted was $57,220, and I calculated we needed an extra $6,350 to cover for the remainder of the year.
So this includes snow plowing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The next item is cost of water from Dawson Creek. I calculated what we had spent on the first 6 months and averaged it out. And said, okay, we are gonna, of course, have water for the rest of the year. So I estimated we needed about $151,270, and we have budgeted $90,700. So we need $60,600 to cover for the remainder of the year. And of course, their costs are going up. I know they increased their costs as they charge us at the beginning of the year. That was a significant increase in this year, and I would anticipate that increasing for the next 5 years from Dawson Creek. And they charged us a levy for capital. So it's gone up from the $9,000 that we had prior. I think it's up to around, I think it's $24,000.
So our rates need to go up?
Sorry?
Do our water rates need to go up?
They go up by default. We bill the residents the direct cost
Right.
from Delson.
That's right.
Thank you.
Then the sewer lagoon repair and maintenance, as you know, are having issues. We'll cover that more under the special projects and capital. We are trying to bring our suspended solids test rate down so we're not in violation of our permit. And to do so would require some work to be done. That work is ongoing in the regular maintenance account, which this is, and under the special projects and capital. So we are expecting we're going to need, for the sewer maintenance, repairs and maintenance, we're going to need an extra $64,160.
And what did we budget?
We had budgeted $39,160. But at the time of budgeting, we didn't anticipate, we didn't know that we were going to have these problems and these issues. But now they've come to our attention, we are obliged to deal with them.
Yeah. No.
The safety audit costs, this is the cost that we have incurred and will be incurring to meet the requirements set out by WCB and as recommended by the consultant that came in and did a safety inspection for us. We're needing $45,850 to meet those minimum requirements. And for safety audit costs, we had nothing budgeted at the beginning of the year, as we didn't anticipate this issue coming up.
Okay.
And the last item, by-election costs, we did talk about that at two previous meetings ago, and went through that detail. That is $25,300.
And what did we budget?
We had budgeted $3,000. We weren't expecting a by-election, it's just a little annual allowance was put in there.
Yeah.
So we weren't expecting a by-election.
But Doug, that amendment has already been approved by a motion, right? That we brought that forward 2 councils a meetings ago, and now you're just capturing it in the budget, in the bylaw?
That's correct. Yeah, 100% correct.
Okay. Good job there, Dougie.
So, does anybody have any questions on the list here?
No.
I do, I can't find my.
I am surprised at some of these numbers.
Yes.
They are shocking, but as I said, except for the safety audit costs and the sewer lagoon repairs, and let me just check.
Where?
Most of these are what is reasonably going to be expected to be expended. The amount of consulting will vary depending on what's required to be done. The same can go with the legal expense. If we don't have any further large issues, that amount could easily be reduced by 30,000. Depends on the legal issues coming up. The liability insurance is needed. That is what it's going to be. And the information technology, material and supplies, we've had issues we've needed to deal with. And I expect the full 24,220 is going to be needed. The same would go for the garbage collection and garbage picnic. The streets and lanes, that could be less than $6,300. The cost of Dawson Creek is going to be required because I don't think they're going to stop billing us. Then the sewer lagoon repairs, it depends what is discovered, what's required to maintain the system, to keep us in compliance with our permits. Things could go well for us. We're not expecting that. We're expecting we're going to spend all of that extra money. So, with that said, it's troubling to report it, but it is what's required. The situation from the beginning of the year has changed dramatically in many fronts, and this is what we need to keep ourselves going on. To stay legal with the province.
Yeah, which is good. That's a good thing to do. I just have one question. Are we not paving this year?
Yes, I can, later on in the agenda, I can give you a very quick snapshot of the various projects with respect to that one. We've requested quotes. We have 2 in for the pavement patching, for the pavement, and for the crack sealing. We're doing that through Urban Systems. We have sent out a spec sheet to 5. I think we have received 1 back, and the deadline is September the 7th.
Well, the reason I'm asking, it says nothing for 2021 in the amendment of 21-25 cap of special projects. It says 0 for 2021. And I was just wondering why there's no money amount in there.
Well, Doug, we have $100,000 in the budget for 2021, don't we, for crack sealing and pavement?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, and that's what we're working on, that budget now.
But shouldn't that 100,000 reflect it here?
Sorry, the question is, are you hearing the question, Doug?
It says amendment 2021-25 cap of special projects. Should that $100,000 not be in the line where it says 2021?
Page you
Page 153.
Page 153. So Doug doesn't have the complete agenda, so the joys of doing this virtually. The question is...
So that's just to pay the sewer repairs.
Mm-hmm.
The we're talking about.
This is 0.
Yeah, because you guys moved that to 2022 in the
To
budget.
repair those?
Yeah, in the budget deliberations, because they're still settling.
So those are all the green.
Did you get your question answered, Your Worship?
Yes, I did, sorry about that.
Just to clarify on those, we usually like to wait a year, sometimes two, after we do those repairs to make sure that the ground settles and we don't pave over it and it sloughs and goes in. We know it's a nuisance to the residents, but we do that to make sure that it gets done right the first time.
Well, I was just wondering, because I was told that they'll do the highway when we do our paving.
And to Mr. Mason's point, we do have that large crack sealing and asphalt patching project on the books. So.
But is the paving companies doing that?
We're asking for quotes and through Urban Systems and ourselves. So as I say, Urban Systems is kind of dealing with the crack sealing component, and they've given a deadline of September 7th. Very challenging, boy. The industry is extremely busy out there. So we're waiting till September 7th to see what we have in terms of quotes. And with respect to the pavement patching, we're handling that in-house. Blair has one quote in, I believe, anticipating a second, and we're working on a third. Because we're very conscious of the fact that, we've got to get this done.
Well, yeah, because the highway, right, that big hole and Argo and them all are waiting for us to figure out what we're doing.
We're on it. So Your Worship, at this stage, if there's no further questions, really what we need now is motions to give first, second, and third reading to the bylaw in question, bylaw number 1031.
I got my, sorry, but I got my, the most separately.
Yeah, we should do the motion separately, but you don't need to read the bylaw.
Can we read it out, the bylaw, please? The whole thing? No, just the, where we have to, 1, 2, second reading, right?
Oh,
Because we're going to do all the readings at once?
okay, well, maybe I'll read the whole thing.
Okay.
Whereas the Council of the Village of Pooskookie is required to adopt a 5-year financial plan. And whereas the Council of the Village of Pooskookie may amend the 5-year financial plan, now therefore the Council of the Village of Pooskookie in open meeting assembled and acts as follows. Number 1, Schedule A attached hereto and made part of this bylaw is hereby declared to be the amended financial plan of the Village of Pooskookie for the 5-year period ending December 31st, 2025. Number 2, the financial plan 2021 to 2025 bylaw number 1029 to 2021 is hereby amended by deleting Schedule A attached thereto and substituting Schedule A attached to this bylaw. Number 3, this bylaw may be cited for all purposes as the amended financial plan 2021 to 2025 bylaw number 1031 2021. Read a first time. This 18th day of August?
No.
The motion should be that just to give bylaw number 1031 first reading.
There you go.
Second reading? We have to do a second. Second, read a second time this.
Yeah, the
First
the
of
motion should
September
be
2021.
moved and seconder, read bylaw number that 1031 be given first reading, vote on it, then a simple motion that bylaw 1031 be given second reading, vote on it, and then third reading, vote on it. So 3 motions.
Oh, read it first time. This bylaw number 1031 2021.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Or Bart, you have a discussion?
No.
No.
All in favor?
Read a second time, this bylaw number 1031/2021.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Read a third time, bylaw number 1031/2021.
Can I have a
Second.
second? Discussion, all in favor?
Read a fourth time and adopted this first day of September 2021.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Gary, we need to adopt the bylaw at another meeting.
Correct, yeah, we bring it back for the September 15th meeting for final adoption. Yep. Okay, any further questions, Your Worship, or members of council on that?
I'm good with that.
Okay, Doug, unless you want to stick around, I think that we're probably, we're good.
Are you okay for the Sophie report?
Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely, yes, I forgot about that one.
Because I could leave now, you can handle it.
Yeah, where is the Sophie report?
Isn't it?
Oh, there it is. Your Worship, can we perhaps just skip down to item number 12.2A on page 201 to 212, the Sophie report? Because Doug did, he did the bulk of the work on that. And if there's any questions. Page 201?
Oh yeah, I'll find it. Nope. Go ahead.
So, Your Worship, I'll just ask Doug to briefly overview this report. It's a statutory requirement. It's presented every year. And really, it's, as I say, it's a statutory requirement. We're required to do it, and we're required to file it with the province and bring it to council's attention. So, Doug, can I ask you to briefly overview your report and the work?
Sure, you bet. This is a report under the financial, it's a reporting act, Statement of Financial Information Act, that we are required to fill out each year. And it requires some very specific things and a little bit of gymnastics, as you can see, to present the information that they want. This is historical information. There's nothing we can change on it. The schedule of remuneration and expenses are what they were. Same with on the one statement that is a bit of gymnastics, and I'll just bring that to your attention. That is the reconciliation that is after the list of scheduled payments to suppliers of goods or services. So we are required to.
What page, Doug, is that in the report?
207.
It's page 7 on the report here.
Okay,
207 on ours, Gary.
207?
Yeah. I just want to clarify some things that was said at the forum the other night, Doug. For the 2019 scheduled service and goods thing, there was over $682,000 is what was spewed out at the forum. And those were miscellaneous payments that are $25,000 and under. So if you can break down the $582,539.09 for me to prove that Mr. Leggett and I are not in coercion in any sort. That was spewed at the forum the other night. Thank you.
So Doug, can you carry on, please, and just briefly overview the report? Thanks.
So we have the schedule of payments to suppliers of goods or services. That's on page 6 of the report. And we are required to reconcile that to the financial statements. That's what this does. It brings in all the accruals made at the end of the year and amortization and the GST received on purchases recovered and changes in the balance sheet, and that's how we reconcile from this statement before on the schedule of payments to suppliers to the financial statements. Basically, that's what that statement does on page 7 of the SOFI report. Other than that, that's it. Once the council adopts it, the statement of financial information approval can be signed by the mayor and Chris if he's there, and then Chris can sign then the page 9 of the management report.
Doug, can you actually give us a breakdown of the $582,539, Chris?
Thanks, Your Worship. Doug, I'll speak to this one. That line, Your Worship, is in the provincially approved statutory format. And it's done so that the statement to the public is reasonable in terms of its length. So that line, the 582,000 and whatever it was in previous years, is comprised of potentially upwards of 100 various different payments for things as small as stationary purchases for a particular supplier of $95, for example. The reason the province puts it into that format is because this report could potentially be in the hundreds of pages for certain municipalities if it wasn't aggregated like that. And the province deemed that $25,000 threshold to be financially material to the readers. Now that certainly doesn't mean that the municipality doesn't have the records for all of those. Those are all, of course, audited at part of as part of the year-end financial audits. But for simplicity reasons, those aren't grouped there to be, misleading to the reader. They're actually done that way to be helpful to the reader, so that people don't have to read where, in a case that, a municipality has a radio subscription, for example, for their, the recreation complex that costs the taxpayers $50 a year for radio subscription. It doesn't need to make its way into a financial report at the end of the year. It's immaterial to the operation in general.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah.
Just because it was spewed.
So we can,
Thursday night.
we can certainly produce a document that would have each and every one of those, in there. But it's going to be lengthy.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Good answer, Chris.
Awesome. Glad you're back.
Doug, anything further you wish to add?
No, that was a good summary from Chris. That is absolutely correct.
So, Your Worship, what's needed really is a motion to adopt the report, and if it hasn't already been done, forward to the required external agencies.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Thank you, Your Worship. So section 12.1, there's a number of reports from myself here, but I think the majority, quite a few of them, are actually just me reporting out on work that was initiated by Mr. Leggett and his team. And really, I'm bringing essentially, in most cases, kind of the final deliverable, or pretty close to the final deliverable. I'll just start with the water conservation plan. I'll try to be brief on each of these reports. And Doug, feel free to book out if you wish, or you can continue listening. With the water conservation plan, you may recall, well, in 2015, the village was awarded a grant under the Small Communities Fund, under the New Building Canada Fund, which required the village to adopt a water conservation plan, basically as a condition of future grant funding. So in the spring of this year, Urban Systems was engaged to prepare a water conservation plan to the village. The document is before you. It was distributed separately to each of you. It contains some recommendations at the back of the document for future consideration. And really the next step in the process is for council to officially receive the plan. If you have any final comments, and pass a motion to formally adopt it as the water conservation plan for the village. We'll then advise the province as a condition of grant funding. And you know, we now have this in place as a key foundational piece if we wish to apply for any further, you know, water infrastructure grants. I could go through the recommendations if you want, but you've had the document for some time, so it's council's pleasure, but we recommend a motion to adopt.
Did everybody read it?
I'll make the motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you. The second item really is something that was initiated, you know, regionally and involved Mr. Leggett as well. Urban Systems was previously engaged by the region to prepare a housing needs assessment. This item was included in the village's list of 2001 capital and special projects, and we allocated a contribution of $5,000. And now I am aware that a motion was subsequently passed at one of your committee of the whole meetings that after the by-election, this be brought back to a new full council. The reason that I'm bringing it forward is the document that I distributed is still a draft. However, I was advised when I came here that the intention is to bring this draft to the regional board meeting in September, the first board meeting in September. And I talked to the consultants and I said, oh, we have a motion to consider it after the by-election. If we do that, are we going to miss out on any final opportunities to provide comment? I understand that Your Worship, you previously provided comments on this, but I'm really bringing it back just to let you see the I wouldn't say it's the final draft, because what Matt told me from Urban Systems is that this is going to go to the regional board. They're going to make any final comments, and on the basis of those comments and any comments that we wish to provide, the consultants will then do the final document. But it sounds like that the train has left the station, and it's kind of now speak now or forever hold your peace, because I think by the time of the by-election, it'll be pretty close to a done deal. So I'm really recommending that if you have any comments, and I'm saying it's suggested that council review the list in section 5.6.2, and there's 4 objectives there. And if you wish to provide any comments, that we consider doing that now so that I can get those to the regional district before the document's presented to the board. And you see these objectives, right? There's 4 objectives in here.
Yeah.
So that's what they're kind of looking for feedback on. The consultants anyway is, are you okay with these? Are there any ones that you think are a particular high priority? And really just any final comments. But it sounds like this is going to be on the agenda of the regional board meeting in
The next
September.
meeting. Yeah.
I think personally, I think it's a pretty good piece of work that's been done.
It is. It's very good.
So you guys have nothing to add to that?
Well, after thinking about the amount of services that we can provide within the village at this time, like, if I'm being close to being retired myself, if I had to move out of my home, I think I would have to make the choice of moving.
To the Toronto House?
No, well, if I didn't have transportation, I would have to think about moving from Coos-Cuby because there isn't enough services.
Yeah, we've had several seniors move out here because of
Yes,
losing their driver's license and not having the services for them.
yes.
Yes.
So I think that's a big one as well.
I think the benefit of a document like this is on your 5-year financial plan, you're proposing to reopen the OCP at some point in time. And with a good document like this, you can now use this document as kind of feedstock to putting any new or amended policies in your OCP dealing with housing. So I think really it's a good piece of work.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So there's no motion required at this point in time, but I just wanted to bring it forward to you. If there was anything that, hey, time out, let the board know this before they consider it in September. Because I know the consultants are basically out of budget and they want to wrap up the project.
Oh, I don't blame them. It's been 2 years.
There's quite some time.
2 years, Chris? Remember when that guy was up there and he was reading us this thing?
Matt, I think his name.
Matt.
Yeah, so perhaps going on 2 years for sure.
Okay,
Just a motion to receive?
motion to receive, sir. Can I get a seconder?
Yes.
All in favor?
The next item is really something that was initiated by the CAO, and I'm really just bringing it forward for really your receipt and information at this time. In 2020, approval was given to engage Urban Systems to prepare a new zoning bylaw for the village. The project was commenced in 2020 and carried over. Essentially, the project is very close to completion. The edits are mostly minor, and I've kind of summarized what some of the cleanup language relates to. And there are several items, just 3 really, that the consultants are looking for further direction from the village on before they, and one section is related to CCANs, one section is related to home occupations, and one section is related to beekeeping and hen enclosures. And they're really just asking for feedback from the district so that they can put language in here that then there's a complete final draft. Now, as you know, this bylaw would have to be brought forward in the form of a bylaw and given first reading, then referred to a public hearing, and it's probably a 3 to 4 month process. And so I'm bringing it forward for receipt at this time. And I did talk to Mr. Leggett about this, and what I'd recommend is that you refer the document back to staff to take a look at these 3 little sections where the consultants are asking for direction in terms of what the regulation is going to be. And then we'll bring it back. And if you wish to weigh in on this, that's fine, you can do that. I'd suggest maybe you do it on a council agenda, maybe even the next council agenda that isn't so busy and there isn't so much on there. And you can weigh in and give your thoughts on these 3 areas. And the questions are very specific. And then staff would finalize the document, bring it back in the form of a bylaw.
Okay.
Thanks for just with maybe particular emphasis on the CCANs, and just the consultants are wondering what council's position is relative to those. I know that was a big part of that document being rewritten because of the issues we were having with CCANs, and I think council should consider a position sort of yay or nay. In the past, they've sort of been allowed, but the process was that the finished product couldn't look like a CCAN when it was done. And part of what prompted this was we had some residents that got very creative in terms of how they did that. So one resident in particular called us, asked us about a CCAN. We said no, but you can use it as the frame for your shed. It must match your house and the general appearance of your must look like a shed when it's all said and done. A week later, lo and behold, we get a call from that same resident. I didn't field that call, and he was asking, well, are we allowed the tarp sheds in town? Yeah, no problem, those are permitted. Okay, next thing you know, we got a C-can covered in a tarp shed, and that's it. I don't have to do anything else. So folks want them. They're trying to be creative about how to work between, you know, the rules to get them. And they're very much a bone of contention, you know, in a lot of municipalities. Some folks don't mind them. Some municipalities are like, this really doesn't fit the aesthetics with the residential neighborhood, and we don't want them. So I know that the consultants are looking for sort of a clear position on that. What do we want to do with the CCAN thing?
So, Your Worship, I'd recommend that you refer this back to us. Mr. Leggett and I can speak in terms of the next appropriate approach, but this is certainly going to be coming back to council. And maybe we can give council a little bit more direction in regards to, or recommended direction in regards to these three outstanding issues. But they're relatively minor, and we're very, very close to advancing this to a public hearing.
So the C, the D, you want?
This is the draft zoning bylaw.
Oh, okay, but do you want the village of Coos draft development procedure? 1, 2.
Can we have a motion on the zoning bylaw though?
Okay, I'll give you the motion to take it back to staff. And
Great. Correct.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? No. All in favor?
The next item is really reporting out on something that certainly was initiated by Mr. Leggett and his team, and I think this is a really good piece of work myself. You did get a grant for this piece of work, and in 2020 approval was given to engage an external consultant to assist in the preparation of a draft development procedures manual, and it was started in 2020, carried over to 2021, and really this is a document for use by staff, you know, on a day-to-day basis. It basically outlines in a step-by-step format, hey, here are the procedures when you get an application for an OCP, a zoning amendment, board of variance, subdivision, development variance permit, temporary use permit, agricultural land reserve application, contaminated sites, building and other permits. It's a check-by-check, step-by-step checklist. Again, this document, similar to the zoning bylaw, is very, very, very close to being completed. It was basically given to us, I think, in May when I came here, and so I'm really just reporting out on it. Similar to the zoning bylaw, there's 2 or 3 little final edits that the consultants are asking some clarification and direction from staff before they finalize this document. And it's fairly minor matters. And this document doesn't require a public hearing. It basically, we just need to tweak those final 2 or 3 areas, and then basically we're done. It's being reviewed by some of the clerical staff who deal with some of these applications and would be responsible on the front line for initiating the process. So I recommend that it really just be received and referred back to staff for finalization. And just FYI, we have received, we've received information unofficially, and it's going to be announced at the UVCM that we are going to be awarded $26,000 for phase 2 of this.
Oh, right on.
So, however, we have to wait for the announcement from the UVCM, but that's going to be coming in a couple of weeks. And that's for phase 2, which would be to, now that this manual is in place, really put together a lot of stuff for the public. On the website, informational materials, graphics, those types of things. Because this is great for staff, but it would be great if the development community has elements of this as well. So I'm recommending that it just be received at this stage.
And sent back to staff?
Correct.
Okay.
Good job.
Good job, awesome. Good job, Gary. Can I get a second on that?
These guys here, not me. Moved and seconded?
Barb? Or I motioned it, you?
She second.
And you can, all in favor?
There we go. Okay.
The next one, water supply agreement and community center. Okay, so when I came here, it was brought to my attention that both of these agreements needed to be looked at. I was asked, would you take a look at both of these agreements? And they're totally different, different issues, but I'm just bringing them forward simply to ask council, are there any particular issues with respect to both of these agreements that I need to know about? Because the water supply agreement with Dawson sets out the terms and conditions for the supply of water, and it's expired in October of 2019.
Yeah.
And I know that I've spoken to the CAO in Dawson Creek, and we expect at the staff level to be invited to a meeting at the staff level to talk about this agreement. And because I know Dawson has issues with respect to infrastructure costs, and the implication on that on Pooskookie could be, considerable. The second is the joint use agreement with the school district for the community center. It expired in August of 2020. And I was also asked to bring this, be aware of this. And that both these files warrant attention at some point in time. So I'm really just interested in, are there any particular concerns or issues with each of these that I should note and that I can pass on to Chris? Because I likely won't be here when there's going to be further discussion, certainly with respect to the water agreement. And the community center one, obviously, that's going to have to be discussed at some point in time. So I'll leave it with council.
So, Bart?
The Pooskookie Community Center joint use agreement. I would like to inquire if we're going to get our mudroom and our coat room back now that they've added more space into the school park. Are we going to have access to our whole community center? The coat closet and the boot room.
Yeah, because the coat closet is their janitorial.
Yes.
And part of what the problem is that when we have a community event that's held within the center in winter or inclement weather, you have stacks and piles of boots and shoes in the entranceway, which creates a hazard. And that's why that boot room was put there. And right now, it's inaccessible to the public and to us.
And you're talking about the entrance, I've been in there, so you're talking about the entrance, the main entranceway.
Yes.
You go to the library's over here,
Yes.
just that whole area.
And it gets all filled up
And the
with
bathrooms are ours, and
But the coat room, we have never, since the building opened, had access to that as a coat room.
no,
It has been the school district 59's janitorial room.
and we've been paid for it. We paid for it.
Yeah, I know.
So they can reimburse us some money or something for that. Or they can build on there, since they're already building there.
Do we know if they bought any books this year? The school district for our library, or how many they bought last year? We're not getting any of those reports. That's part of the agreement too.
Oh,
No, I don't know.
cool. Courtney would know that.
Okay.
We're in the library.
I haven't been there.
You can phone her, can you not?
Hmm?
You can phone her, can you not? Courtney?
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Again, we haven't been summoned to a meeting, or we haven't initiated a meeting, but it has expired. So I'm not sure of the process to open this up, and we can talk about that.
But I thought Chris sent it off to the lawyers because it had, the village wasn't on there. It was the library and the school district. right? And I can't find it. I know it's there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did receive a request to forward it on to legal, I believe, in late April, early May. That was done and it was being assigned to a junior lawyer, young Anderson, and, yeah, I'm not sure where that went. So, but it was sent over to legal.
Well, I can track that down where it's at. But this is good information to know about any concerns, obviously.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the water agreement with Delson Creek?
Well, I thought we weren't really gonna have much of a water agreement since we signed that SLP. Right?
But we haven't heard, it's coming up on the agenda here,
Well,
water.
it's right here. Yes, it's right here. And I think we need a meeting with the,
City of Delson Creek.
yeah, invite them to a council meeting. Because the deal, I thought they weren't gonna really do much about the water agreement because we signed that SLP.
Well, yeah, I don't know. All I know is that we're gonna be getting at the staff level an email from the CAO and the engineering team at the staff level to talk about issues with respect to water.
Well, I guess we should wait and see what they're
Yeah.
going to, what the increase is going to be to the village, and then discuss after that.
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. Let us have this meeting. I suspect I know what it's going to be about, and we'll see just what the landscape is looking like that they're proposing, and then we'll come back to council.
Okay.
Just a motion to receive this report, Your
Can I have a
Worship?
motion to receive that? And can I have a seconder?
Second?
All in favor?
The Health, Safety, and Environment Program, really, this is just a report out to council on, and we've had previous discussions about this, and I'm really just summarizing that, what the steps we have taken since that July 21st regular council meeting. There's a number of them. We've commenced a review of the policies which are contained in that manual. We have, and Doug talked about this, we've addressed a significant number of the on-site deficiencies, particularly at the works yard, which were identified by the consultants during their safety inspections of the village's facilities. And I think we spent in the order of about $34,000 on those, and those costs were reflected in Doug's report. We've completed OH&S safety courses for a significant proportion of the staff. And I recently met with the WorkSafe occupational safety officer who conducted the inspection to apprise of what we've done. So I'm recommending that staff continue their review of this particular manual and associated policies, that we continue to address any on-site deficiencies which were identified in the workplace inspection of the office, the fire hall, and the public works yard. The next one that's coming up is the additional egress, excess egress, the escape, what do we call it? Second floor, there's no exit up there.
Exit up on the fire hall.
So that one is being, we're getting quotes for that now as we speak, and that was identified in the consultant's report. That we continue to ensure that all health, safety, and environment program training is kept current with the qualifier that staff training stipulated in the manual be reassessed. We talked about this morning at our staff meeting. One of the things is updating our first aid. And I'm also recommending that we formally establish a OH&S committee. And I know that there has been some past, work done on that, but the WorkSafe is wanting us to formally establish a small OH&S committee. I'm recommending one staff representative from the office, the fire hall, and the works yard, with the mandate to meet monthly to conduct a required worksite inspection and document and report. And that at least quarterly, this committee meet with management, the CAO or the corporate officer, again, to review any safety-related matters and to document in the report.
I have a question. On your safety courses, did the village staff take different courses than Public Works? Because I know the training that I received that they wanted us to do, which I did about 3 hours of, was hard hats, safety glasses, steel-toed boots. And why would the office staff have to do all that? Oh, and safety harness. Why would the office staff have to do that training? I would like to investigate on what was done and how this all started.
To answer your question, yeah, I believe, I mean, I don't have the list of safety
Yeah,
courses in front of me,
Right.
but yes, I do believe the works yard staff, they've taken all their courses. They had somewhat different ones than, I believe, than the inside staff. But there was a lot of similarity. But one of my recommendations is that certainly we continue the courses that are required, but that we relook at that, and basically I'm saying that we reassess, we continue whatever is statutorily or legally required by WorkSafe, but we reassess what those courses are as to whether or not the inside staff need to take the full range of courses that the workyard staff have to, and vice versa. Okay, so continue to keep training, but in my view, you know, and I'm not an expert in OH&S, but I think that some of these courses were not necessary for some segments of the staff. So we're cognizant of that, but we are up to date. We have taken the courses that was required by the consultant, and but we're going to reevaluate that in the context of, okay, so are these all necessary for a small local government village? Okay. That's part of my recommendation. So, Your Worship, I'm just asking for really a motion to adopt my recommendations.
Okay, or Ryan?
I just wanted to ask, after reading that, does the village supply cell phones, or what kind of communication with these employees when they're out in the boonies?
Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, we do provide cell phones to certain key employees, Councillor Heber. Some employees prefer to use their personal devices, in which case there's a little bit of a subsidy there, so to speak, if they do use them for business purposes as well. A couple of years ago, I worked with the Director of Public Works to install radios in all of the village equipment, and we do have handheld radios as well. So when they're within the boundaries of the village, the modes of communication are numerous. Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
when a village vehicle is, how do I word this? If a village employee is driving a piece of village equipment, set, i.e. a truck, whatever, and an individual comes along and they give that person a ride hither, thither, and yonder, wherever within the village, they're covered by insurance, right? And they're covered by this health and safety.
Yeah.
No.
That's
If it's an
an
employee
interesting-
that they're giving a ride to, yes, they're covered.
Yeah,
If
employees
it's
for
just
sure.
a resident of Pooskapee, no. They're not covered.
Well, and I can think of, the only example I can think of that recently, you may have another one, was
I don't, I have nothing.
the fire chief and I were out on just a village patrol, and we were looking at one of the line failures up in Doaksville, and we encountered a frantic mother whose child had ran out of her house and had gone loose in the street. We immediately told her to jump in the truck, and we started driving around
There you
town.
go, okay.
To your point though, the legalities of had there been an accident, and you know, had we got T-boned in the course of looking for this kid, and we maybe drove around for like a block or two until the child was spotted, you know, but I mean, that was an immediate life safety issue. It was, man, jump in, we're going to look for your child. You know, without any consideration to insurance or anything, but I don't know off the top of my head. I would probably advise staff that if a member of the public just came and said, can you give me a ride to the corner store? My advice to them would be, I'm sorry, you know, we can't do that for liability reasons, but I can definitely make a call to MIA and see what and how that might work. It's a question that's never come up before.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because it is a small village and things can get.
And in a case of an
Complex.
emergency like that, right, like we didn't even hesitate, but you
Exactly.
know, I would think, like I said, if a member of the public came up and said, oh, my vehicle's broken down, can you just give me a ride to the gas station? Yeah, I'm not sure that's the request we could accommodate, you know.
Okay.
D, here,
Question?
Just a minute.
is this in your report or is this pertaining to
No, this is this health and safety thing.
Sure.
Still, haven't moved on from that, I'm sorry. With the list of people that were involved in that report, I don't have it on me right now. There was mayor and council, and we had discussed that before, and then there was the fire department. And the volunteer fire department are considered employees. And that is something that I question.
To be honest, I questioned it too, because, you know, I just came from working for an improvement district on Vancouver Island, very similar, smaller range of services, but, you know, 9 or 10 staff and a volunteer force of 15. And they were not considered, the volunteers, part of the workforce. But I did specifically, I met with John Bennett, and, you know, I asked him, I said, look, I'm not an expert on this, but I do question this. Should they be considered as municipal employees? Because that kicks us over the 20 level, and then it's a significantly more onerous or significant complex program. And he said, yes, you are. He said, I asked our legal department about this. And he said their legal department came back and said, given the nature of the services that we provide and the fire department that we have, that they are considered municipal employees. And I said, well, John, if you had it checked out by legal, your legal people, I'll take you at your word that you did your due diligence. But he assures me that yes, they looked at it and they re-looked at it, and you know, I can't fully explain it under their regulations, but he said we are. They are. We're over 20.
Well, wouldn't the fire department have their own, don't you have your own, like, safety?
We have a representative because we're under the 20s, so, or under 20, we're allowed. So we do have one that represents the fire.
Yeah.
But according to John, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Right?
You know, I haven't spent money asking our lawyers or appealing it or anything like that. I go on his good faith that, yes, okay, you re-looked at it. If your lawyers are saying that's the case, we'll accept that.
Okay.
So, your worship, if we should have a motion to just adopt the recommendation so I can move forward with our OH&S committee. And
Okay, I'll recommend that we adopt whatever you just said.
my recommendations.
Your recommendation. We adopt your recommendation.
Second?
Can I get a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
And I did ask the fire chief to join us, but he's just a tiny bit early, but I texted him. But for his report, but also you had passed a motion previously about asking the fire chief to attend a council meeting to get some questions about training. So I'll get to Blair in just a minute. My final report under this section is council member orientation and proposed second little projects check-in. This is really just for information. I've set out some dates here. I'm here ostensibly until October the 8th, unless, Mr. Leggett is, satisfied and I can head down the road. But I have put together some dates here, starting with the September 15th regular council meeting, the by-elections on the 18th. What I've been working on the side of my desk, putting together a little orientation program, a little manual, which we would distribute copies to all members of council, not just the 2 new ones. I'm proposing, we've got a 3-week gap between the September 18th by-election and the first meeting in October. So I'm proposing an orientation session for the new members of council, but I'm strongly recommending or encouraging that all members of council to attend on Wednesday the 22nd, a second one on the 29th. And what we'd like to do is a little mini projects update for you, similar to what Doug and I did and Blair and I did in late May, just to bring you folks and the 2 members of council up to speed on the projects. And then basically do a second little orientation session where Chris was talking about, doing some budget, a little budget presentation to bring particularly the new members up to speed. So 2 orientation sessions on the 22nd, the 29th, and then on October 6th is the first meeting of council with the new people, and they'd be sworn in.
How many days is it till they get sworn in? How many days was
Well,
supposed to be so
you
many
can't-
days?
Yeah, you have a by-election. It's been so long since I did an election, but there is a statutory period because of any potential judicial recounts. So I don't know. It's about a week or something, 7 or 8 days or something before you have to wait before you swear them in. So they could be sworn in before October 6th, I think, but that would require calling a special meeting of council. So. We could look at that, I suppose, swearing them in earlier, but I think it's important to have some orientation before.
First.
Okay, so really this is just for information, and if these dates are fine, we can proceed accordingly.
Do you want a motion for that?
Just really receive the report for information. If the proposed dates are agreeable with council, staff will schedule and proceed accordingly.
I have one thing. Would you email us out the dates again?
Oh, sure.
And then we can answer and put it in our calendars, please?
Certainly.
Thank you. Can we
Just a motion for that?
motion to put, yes, please. Can I get a seconder? Sure. All in favor? And then the new council members orientation program and proposed second minimum strategy. Priority special.
Well, all I've done is I've really just attached very draft agendas, or an agenda for the little projects check-in, and also the table of contents of the little binder that we're putting together, just to give you a taste of what we're talking about. Okay.
So you want a motion just
To receive my reports,
to
Brian.
receive your report? Okay.
I'll move on down. We've done the statement of financial information. Blair's here. He's got his monthly report, July 2021, for the fire department report, but I specifically asked him to come because there is a previous request that he attend a council meeting. I understand you may have had some questions in regards to training, fire department training.
I just need to take a 2-minute break. Sorry, forgot.
We can carry on.
We don't.
Oh, well, that's right, we don't. Yes, that's true.
We'll need a motion
See,
in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, to extend past 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too much longer. See, I just came from the Union Bay Improvement District south of Courtney, and they were dissolving themselves, but, so the province told them they didn't have to have a by-election, but the province granted them permission because they had 2 vacancies, but the province granted them permission to continue with 2 trustees in the event that one was absent for 6 months. So we actually had a couple of board meetings with just 2 trustees, because the province said it's okay. You don't have to have a by-election. When you get sick or something, you can carry on. A quorum would be 2. You can operate. That's not the case here. They didn't go that far, so.
No. Oh. And that's convenient, right?
Yeah, well, you know.
What happened in the case when they dissolved, Gary? Did they become
Oh,
part of
no,
the
what they
regional
did is they had a referendum and they voted to dissolve, de-incorporate, and go with the regional
district?
district.
The regional district, yeah.
Part of the electoral area. So, Your Worship, I did invite the fire chief, public works superintendent to, if he had anything to add to his report, or particularly if he had any questions, but also he's at your disposal if you have any questions about training.
Is there anything else? Public Works, maybe? Can we talk about Public Works? Because, did we not make a motion that we do the ditches, people's ditches?
As far as mowing,
Yeah.
we mow, but there's still a bylaw that there's still a bylaw, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, that they're supposed to look after their own, except for like if they're seniors or they request it.
Well, it was just brought up again at the forum the other night. You know, they were really digging at Public Works and digging at Fire Hall, and that we didn't have Métis on council and so on, and Chris was a crook and I was a crook, but whatever. I just want to know that when it comes to doing the ditches, if they are senior and if they ask, Public Works will do it.
To the best of my knowledge, yes, because it's a bylaw or.
Right.
Yeah.
Because according to them, it's not getting done. Chris?
Yeah, thanks for, maybe, and just to clarify, I've had a number of those conversations with residents that you know, specifically the seniors or individuals that call us and say they've got, you know, mobility issues and they can't do it themselves. Although to the director's point, the bylaw says, you know, you're supposed to cut it yourself. In the rare event that you can't, well, we may step in. But what I typically try and encourage those residents to do is to hire someone to do that for them. You know, there's often kids that run around looking for summer jobs, that type of thing. So before the village steps in and you know, sort of allocates our resources to something like that, I do try to work with those residents to see if they can find an alternate solution on their own. And that's been successful in almost every case, I think.
Well, the one candidate said that he was running for council to have his ditch cleaned, so I just wanted to, or cut. I just wanted to clarify that.
The bylaw is in effect, that, yeah.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I believe in the, you know, when going back to whenever that was done, I can't remember the date, it predates me by a long time. I mean, that was done from a cost management standpoint, right? I mean, already to manage just the portions of the villages, you know, grassland, let's call it, that we have and are responsible for, we already need to bring on, you know, 4 extra people in the summer just to do that. If it was an exercise to try and do every dish in the village, however many times, we'd be looking at significant.
Well, we'd have to hire more staff.
Guaranteed.
I mean, it's
Guaranteed.
crazy, but yeah. I just want these clarifications done and dealt with before these stupid things continue on. Bart?
Would it be possible to, on our newsletter, to ask these young kids if they would leave their name and phone number, so when I need somebody to come mow my lawn or my ditches, I can phone the village office and they can give me a name or a phone number to call? It's just, I don't know how to do this. This is what you're saying,
Yeah.
it's some young kid, but
Yeah.
who?
Well, and there are landscaping firms that do as well, but.
They don't come up to the village anymore.
No?
Not enough clients.
Interesting, okay. I'll look into that, Councillor Smith. That might fall into the assistance to business category, although I know there was some talk about adding businesses to the newsletter, so Yeah, let me look into that, see how we can facilitate a list of those folks.
We need a motion to go past 9 o'clock. Can I get a seconder?
Second?
All in favor? Okay. Can you make go ahead, Blair?
For me?
I'd just like to say, I'd like to thank my volunteer fire department. I really appreciate you guys and all your hard work. Now you may continue. Sorry.
Thank you.
So, Your Worship, any questions from members of council to the fire chief and public works superintendent regarding anything, his report or training?
I think you had something about training, that's why his purpose was on May to come.
Yes. I wanted to understand how, do the first responders get trained as well as, and are they separate from the volunteer fire department?
There is a difference. We have a standard that we have to maintain, like the first aid stuff. The first responders, a lot of them wanted to go or were in that field as far as like paramedics and that kind of stuff, so they took it on themselves. However, they had to maintain a certain amount of credit to keep their license active. So instead of, just me going hoping that I'm gonna get enough credits, they bring their training over to us. Not that they were asked, but just to help maintain their credits. Because they had to maintain so many patient contacts and so many training courses, so it was kind of like they wanted it, they went after it or had it, and they just bring it over to us as a bonus.
I see. So when you take any kind of training and then you take exams after the training?
Yeah.
Okay. And those exams are from?
Right now, we switched over to out of Vancouver. The other companies that we're dealing with, as far as different schools, we're having, not only us, we're having issues getting the results back. This other company that we're dealing with now, which is certified, when I did one of my courses, I wrote my exam like tonight, and 2 o'clock in the morning I have results back. So like they're like big in there.
Night and day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what they do, the ones that are doing their 1001, which is live fire, interior, exterior, the full package deal. The way we got it set up, of course, COVID kind of threw a thing wrench in it, but it's every 2 weeks they're supposed to be renewing the exam.
Really?
When we did it, was like you did the whole course and there's no 300, 400 question exam. This one, when they grade the exam as this one, it's done. They don't touch it again. So like if they've done ladders this week, they're done ladders. If they pass, they don't touch ladders again, except for regular training or assist with training with somebody else.
Okay. So all volunteer fire departments do this, right?
Not all. It depends what class you're going into. There's 3 different services. There's full exterior and interior. So if you're exterior, and let's say you had a small kitchen fire, pot on the stove, technically they're not allowed to go in. So where the full service like us, we compare the guys that have their 1001 certified, like myself, a couple of 4 or 5 other guys, we can actually go apply to Vancouver if we wanted to and qualify to work there. So it's just the different levels. There's a couple different departments.
Claire, just keep that part out of it, eh? Just none of that flying to Vancouver. Because, we value our
Yeah. But it's just like, so we're mandated under the service that we provide to provide the same training as Dawson or Vancouver. Yeah.
Because of the level that you're.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's different levels, right?
Yeah.
3 different levels.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, there's somebody like a Tom's Lake are only exterior certified.
Only exterior.
Right? So if they attend fire and to your point, and it's in the kitchen, theoretically, they're obligated legally to wait until the fire starts burning on the outside, and then they can,
Or through the window.
Or call it, yes.
those where our folks are, you know, to the chief's point, several of them are authorized to literally do that, run into a burning building and you know,
Yeah.
extinguish rooms, heater fires, you know, whatever might be happening on the inside. So that's a you know, a higher tier of service than some of the other volunteer departments are able to provide.
And some of them with a lower that's on the exterior. One I actually just found out just recently, when somebody was looking at purchasing their house in their area. It actually is not, their insurance rate doesn't change because apparently they're not recognized through the insurance company. I never knew that, like where is that department?
I don't understand.
So with the insurance rate based on, usually the first set of numbers I'll use is within 8 kilometers of the fire hall. Now, depending on how you're registered as a hall, that department is registered to, and I'm not sure what they're registered for, but they cannot do interior. So I don't want to use names, so they're not all classified through insurance as being a mandated hall. I guess that's how
I
it's
can,
worded.
I can attest to that. My fiance was an insurance agent for a time. So yeah, even though there's a volunteer fire hall there, many insurance companies don't recognize a volunteer hall as an actual fire hall for purposes of you know, getting to the site, because some volunteer halls you know, are just that. It's based on availability. So if there is a fire and the call comes in, if nobody's available in that really micro volunteer fire hall that day, it's possible that the call comes in but nobody comes. So the insurance companies rate that property as though they actually don't have any fire service. So you as the homeowner know that, well, I may or may not have somebody out. Hopefully there's people available. But from the insurance company's standpoint, they actually look at it and say, we're going to classify this as not covered because there's no assurance that somebody will show up and put a hose on this structure. So they rate it assuming a total loss in the event of a fire. And the insurance rates, and I remember looking into that a while ago when the insurance rates were 2 or 2.5 times what they are fully protected versus unprotected.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
There's
understand.
huge difference in the rates.
So Blair, can you tell me why you didn't say key statement?
It wasn't up to code. A lot of vandalism or whatever reason was prior to. So it was being fed versus enclosed, fully closed windows and everything else.
Councillor Smith?
Is Charlie Lake Fire Department equivalent to you guys?
Yeah.
The same,
Yeah, they do the same standards as we do.
and who else?
You've actually trained together, you and Charlie Lake.
Yeah, we work quite a bit with Charlie Lake. And to be honest with you, I would assume, but I don't know for 100%, I would think probably Chetwynd, I would think.
They would have, yeah,
Yeah.
and Tumblr Ridge.
Yeah, I'm not sure what there is. We don't really deal with them a whole lot, so I don't know where their standards are or what they're capable of
But
doing.
they can,
Yeah.
okay.
But for the most part, I kind of look at us very, very similar to Charlie Lake. You know, they have a few more members than we do, but they pretty well do the same scenarios that we do.
First responder too?
No, they're going back to the PRD, I think, in the spring.
Well, they tried to do it, but nobody knew what was going on, so nobody voted on it, kind of like we were doing.
Yeah.
And so then they never got the votes that they needed, right? So then they're,
So, yeah, as right now, no, but I believe they're going back at it again in the spring.
yeah. Yeah. Councillor Hubert?
I've lived here forever, and these guys that I hang out with, like, such as my brothers, my husband, and they were all on the volunteer fire department. But to hear them talk about their experiences, I'll tell you something, like it must have been very hair-raising back then without all the regulations and rules.
Yeah, when my Alfie was on there too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these guys crawling into burning buildings looking for kids.
With just rubber boots and a jacket.
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
gosh, yeah, you're lucky you got home. Great. Well, thank you very much. Cleared up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, it's mandated, like, it's so strong, like, you know, we've got the fire chiefs conference, or fire chiefs, you've got the fire chiefs of BC, you've got the NFPA standards. There's so many things that we have to abide by, and
And I understand why.
Yeah.
I mean, when I see a fire, I would go the other way.
yeah.
Like, I don't even go near fires and fire equipment. My husband's always like, let's go by. And I'm like, no, we're going home. Don't want to see it.
You know, you guys see a little portion from the reports.
Yes,
Um,
just a small
Like,
bit.
we had one last week, a structure fire, and it was smoke throughout the house, but we contained the fire to an area basement. You know, yeah, it's gonna take time for them to fully clean it,
Yeah,
but there's still, the house is still standing, and
yeah.
So you do stay safe structures. Good for you guys. Yay!
But would it be safe to say, Chief, that, you know, part of the responsibility of your role is to make that judgment call?
Yeah.
Right? You know, is my personnel in harm's way if we save this structure, and is, you know, and that always that fine line between, am I gonna lose somebody trying to save this burning building, which,
risk versus benefits. If there's nobody trapped, and I'm not gonna risk like nobody to go in, versus, you know, we're gonna put a little more risk if there's somebody inside.
yeah.
But, you know, in the houses today versus, you know, when your brother and all them was in, you know,
Is it more air?
3 to 4 minutes, and, you know, it's pretty too late.
Go on.
Because there's so much air, right, going through the windows and stuff. It always had oxygen.
And
Now the houses are so sealed.
the fabric compared to 20 years ago,
Yeah.
and couches and chairs and all that is just,
So, oh, you got a question? Okay.
Oh, that's all right.
I was just gonna ask you, why didn't you save the ambulance, or the first aid building?
I wasn't here. Oh, I mean, I was out of town. That one there,
That was an explosion, was it not?
yeah, by the time the first person that we spoke to, after I was back, by the time the first bang went off and the picture was on Facebook, it was fully involved before we were, or fully involved outside before we were even paged.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I saw it. I went there.
Maureen?
So the province is asking from you to, and all volunteers within fire departments all across British Columbia, to put in all this extra. Are they putting in
No.
what they should be putting in towards this? I mean, these people, it seems like it's a second job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just incredible what they're asking for volunteers.
Downloading.
Yeah. And
Are you already into the playbook, the new playbook? Are you guys doing that?
we follow the old one. The new one hasn't been released yet.
Oh.
There could be more from the province, for sure. They set all the rules and regulations that we have to follow by, but
I'd just like to add to that point too, Councillor here. I can say the level of dedication of our volunteers is exemplary. The average volunteer, you know, provides a couple of 100 hours of their time every year to training and actual events and community volunteering. And I know, and I believe I've shared this with council in the past, you know, it's almost approaching to your comment earlier, where it's tough to even classify them as an individual who's a volunteer. We're not asking for an odd weekender here and there. When an individual commits to this fire department, it's a couple of hundred hours as a minimum that they're signing off to.
Is it only this fire department?
No.
that's-
No.
No, it's all.
No, it's
No.
all of them.
Well, depending on the level of service, of course, those
Right.
commitments go up and down, but a volunteer fire department that is in the full classification as ours, those volunteers they've taken on a second job, to your point.
Yeah.
They're expected to do a minimum of a couple of hundred hours of service, whatever that may be.
200 hours
Yeah.
is minimum.
We did a report on it a while ago, and it was, we had members that were up in the 400-hour a year range, if I'm not mistaken.
Depending on depending on what we do and how much extra career
Yeah.
that we do, like Canada Day and all that
Yeah.
stuff. That's all included because it's just all volunteer stuff.
You don't require them to do that stuff though, do you? Like Canada Day and all that, and Remembrance Day. That's strictly, if you're available, do you want to come?
Yeah,
Most of them,
Yeah.
Most of them
most
are-
of them make sure they're
Yeah.
available.
yeah. Like Canada Day, when we speak Canada Day, like, they're volunteers. I can't say, no, you're gonna be here. But, you know, when we talk Canada Day or Remembrance Day, within a heartbeat, they're there.
You would have been this July 1st too, but.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, our July 1st survives on,
Fire department.
you know, on the fire department and, you know, the staff bringing in their kids and spouses to make that work. But I mean, the fire department is 50% of the volunteers we need to run Canada.
To make it go.
Yeah.
I mean, awesome that the volunteers would extend themselves that much beyond their regular job, plus trying to have a family because they're all young, right?
And we've been fortunate because the last 5-6 years, I haven't had a big turnaround. When we first come in, we call them t-shirt wearers. So they're, you know, to be part of the organization, but not be part. So we kind of work with them. And either you kind of step up to the plate, or, you know, maybe walk away, maybe just family issues or whatever doesn't work at this point. They come back later if, you know, time permits or whatever. The turnaround for the last 4 or 5 years, we hadn't really had any changes.
Fluctuation.
Yeah, we might lose 1 or 2, but we gain 2 back.
I can see why it would be a detriment for someone to come in and just take up space, right?
Right, because then we look at you and say, are you coming to join us? And, well, what you guys going to offer me? Well, we're going to offer you like $3,000-4,000 worth of bunker gear that we want 200 hours of you risking your life.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you very, very much.
When's the door getting started on the fire hall?
The floor?
Is the floor done now?
Yeah.
And how did that turn out?
Not as good as I was hoping. It's got the grip. It's done what we wanted to do.
Uh-huh.
We're going to have a conversation with the contractor.
Oh, are you? Did you need me?
We're not totally satisfied.
Oh, the mayor really likes to get into fights, so. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I am going to ask Blair to just, I think we're very close to the end of the agenda, and I have one final report on capital and special projects. If you wish me to spend a little bit of time going down that list, and I can be very fast to give you a snapshot update on where we are with all of them, I'm happy to do it.
Okay.
Blair and I have been working very closely on this. If you wish to, in consideration of the late hour, let's do it next week, or let's wait.
Let's go.
Okay.
Rip on it.
So next item is the report of the fire chief. Just a motion to receive.
Motion to
Your worship,
receive.
please.
Second.
All in favor?
The incident reports, there's 4 or 5 of them covering the period July 14th to August 10th from the bylaw enforcement officer. If there's no questions, motion to receive.
Motion to receive.
Second.
All in favor?
And I don't know if this has been your practice, but the grant writer provides a monthly or periodic report. I just put it on the agenda, just to let you know where the status. To the best of my knowledge, there are no outstanding grant applications that we're waiting for word on. The most recent one was that phase 2 of the development procedures manual. Well, we did receive word about 6 weeks ago that the fire hall grant application was denied. And we continue to work with the grant writer. I've spoken to Andy, once, and I email him about potential opportunities. So we're always, between us and the grant writer, we're always looking at potential opportunities, and of course we bring them forward.
What about the oil companies? Because the oil companies, there's grant applications on their website.
Yeah, well, he's pretty good. He's pretty good at monitoring all that sort of stuff, and if something comes to our attention on several occasions, we've emailed him and he said, no, we're not applicable or whatever, or this is something you might want to take a look at. So we certainly do that, and I would, if the criteria was such that we had a potential project already in mind, notwithstanding the grant program, and maybe we had already done some work on it, we'd bring it forward. But in the instance where, we don't really have anything in mind, and then we're going out and trying to dream up a project, that's not the approach to take, because we've got like 20,
enough capital.
we got enough on our plate right now, as I'm going to get into in a couple of minutes. So, just motion to receive if there's no questions.
Second.
All in favor?
And my final report is the report on capital and special projects. So we had that little session on July 28th. And if you turn just to the last page, that little spreadsheet that we've done, I can very quickly, and if you have any questions, but let me just go down the list. And Blair has been working with me significantly in a heck of a lot of these. I'll start right at the top. The fire department compliance audit, that is underway. Okay. Blair's already had some communications with the consultants. The removed dead trees at Poos Park, we have not done that yet. Clean water reservoirs, we've awarded a contract, and I think it's anticipated potentially the middle of September to start.
Do we shut off the water?
No.
No? So no notice needs to go up to residents or anything?
No.
Thank you.
The housing needs assessment, of course, we had a report on that tonight. The officer Poos cutout, they're there. The draft procedures manual, we had a report on that tonight. The updated zoning bylaw, we had a report on that tonight, both substantially completed. CAT program, AC unit, STARS donation, they've all been completed. The safety coat at the fire hall has been completed, but we're having further discussions with the contractor. Replace the tractor, that's been completed. The feasibility study for drainage, that has been, that's an urban systems project that is underway. We had a conference call last week with the two consultants, and we've signed the project letter, and they're starting their work.
Okay.
The tourism video completed.
Are we gonna be able to see the video?
It's not completed.
Oh, it says
It's
completed.
paid. He's the $8,300 is paid. He still has one more year. Chris?
Thanks, Your worship. I believe that video's done. I recall seeing something that
You
it
saw the
was,
trailer.
it was, yeah,
You saw the trailer.
yeah. But I could have sworn I saw an unveiling that was gonna happen at the Rolla Pub.
Yeah,
So
no, that was the trailer.
That was a trailer? Okay.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
Public Works crew cab vehicle's been ordered.
When do we expect that date on that?
I would expect it sometime this month.
Yeah.
That was the projected date.
And what did you buy? What kind of truck did you buy?
Was it GM 3500?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Long blocks, yeah, long blocks 404.
Yeah.
The Poos Park walking trail, this was the one that was deferred. The only one I think that was really, hold on, we need to have a further discussion about this. And, you know, in consideration of the late hour, maybe tonight's not the night to have a discussion on it, but we have not pulled the trigger on this because we understand you want to have a discussion about potentially alternative options. And I've let Urban Systems know about that. Expand the fire hall, this grant was not approved. The professional sound system, council Mike's improvements to the system here. Pauline's doing some good work. She's getting order of magnitude quotes, and she's got several already. And our plan here is once the new council is in place with the new members, we want to come back. And we don't have firm quotes, it's kind of like order of magnitude, here are the options, but we want to talk to council about, okay, so here's what we're looking at. You're the folks that are meeting weekly, like us, what do you think? What do you think needs to be improved? And what the components of the package are. And we've got a fair amount of COVID money, and I think that, you know, we talked about this last week. I think that a lot of the cost of this is very COVID eligible because it's all related to the visual stuff and microphones, and so I think we can use that as a legitimate source of funding for a lot of this stuff. But we're going to come back to council. On page 2, the lagoon-related projects. So the geotech. They have done they've been out on site, they've done their assessment, and their report is coming. And it's not going to take very long. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks. And boy, you know, it'll be interesting to see what that says. I think there's some significant costs coming down the way in regards to the lagoon. The sludge capacity survey, they were out there 2 weeks ago. They've done their survey, and same thing. They're going to come back with a report in terms of the cost, what's the current condition of the lagoons, and the cost, most importantly, the cost of you know, removing sludge and increasing capacity. The fencing, we're about to order, I think we've already awarded a contract for that one, but we're waiting for the Ministry of Environment has to give final approval to the signage, what the signage says on the fence, as well as they've got to give final direction on barbed wire at the top.
Yeah, there's 2 different types of fence, and they're just verifying that yes, this is acceptable.
So we're all ready to go, and we're waiting for MOE. And I had the consultants contact the ministry last week, and she's on holidays until after Labor Day.
So the fence is less than $15,000?
Oh, no.
Because council has to approve.
No, under the purchasing policy, I believe it's,
You have to have 3 quotes.
Up to 50.
And things
Oh, yeah, well,
have to come to council.
well, we're getting 3 quotes on all of these projects.
Yeah, and then it comes to council.
No, I think under the purchasing policy, I believe it's.
Because Chris usually brings all that kind of stuff back to us.
50,000.
I think it's 50,000.
I thought that was 15.
I can look it up.
I believe it's 50. Yes, we've been diligently trying to get 3 quotes in every instance, and that's becoming a challenge, particularly for the pavement and the patching. So, but we make best efforts to do that. But we'll check that purchasing authority, but I believe it's 50. Removal of cattails, that was done it's completed last week, I guess it was. And so that's been completed. That was kind of like a short-term, okay, let's see if we can increase the capacity, remove as many cattails as we can. So that's been done. Not all of them were removed because quite a few of them are way out there in the lagoon. Permit compliance issues, this is ongoing. We may be receiving correspondence from the feds or the province about some of our compliance issues. So what we're trying to do here is make sure that we're in a position to say that, look, we're doing what we can to look at each of these issues, the geotech, the sludge, the fencing, cattail removal. Crack sealing, asphalt patching, we're still seeking quotes on the asphalt patching. Deadline is September 7th. We're hoping we're going to get 3 back. 2 of the contractors have already indicated that they are too busy. And on the asphalt patching, we have 1 quote in, you're expecting a second, and we're trying to work on a 3rd, right?
Yeah, I've reached out to 5 different companies outside, and I got back from the second one. I haven't checked my emails today, but we're supposed to be getting a quote today or tomorrow on the second one.
Right. Solid waste request for proposal, that is, the consultants have said that they will have a draft RFP to us by the end of this week to review, so that will be, we'll take a look at it, but that should be going out certainly in October. And the preparation of the water conservation plan, that was a report tonight. And the health, safety, and environment program, that was a report tonight. So.
Awesome. Anybody have any questions? Chris?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just to clarify the purchasing policy, it's $50,000 for service contracts need to come to council, and capital projects as approved in the budget up to $75,000, as long as it's within that budget amount, can be approved by administration.
Oh, right. Okay. That's good.
So really, that's just for information, and as I said, as part of the orientation program in a month, will be, some of these will be further along. We'd like to do a similar little exercise to what Blair, Doug, and I did with the new council to bring the 2 new ones up to speed.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, councillors' calendars? Anybody got anything? Nothing? Councillor Smith's report?
I had brought the report to do with the radio master plan at the last council meeting that was brought up from regional district, and there hasn't been a meeting since.
Okay. Councillor Hebert?
Museum, we have their year-end review. I was asked to read it, but I just don't think I want to at this time.
So
but
you
I'll
want
hand
it
this in and you guys can put it in.
In the agenda?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
The museums?
Yeah, their year-end report. I think they gave you one. I'm not sure, but I'll give you this one, and I added that they got $1,300 in donations out of their donations box that they put in. Another thing that was mentioned when I went over to the museum was the cork board on the bulletin board, the community bulletin board, that it's so disintegrated and brittle that you're having to push things into push tacks or nails right into the wood, and if you don't, then things are flying all over the place. And so people have put up bulletins and they blow across the yard and
No,
they're gone.
they go down to the McKinney.
They go down to the McKinney's. They make a stop at the museum, head to the fire hall, and off to McKinney's. So it's, yeah, it was mentioned that maybe we could replace that cork because so many people use it. And it is such a worthwhile thing.
Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. We did do some work to straighten that thing out, and then I think fix the little cover that was over top, but yeah, we'll ask that to replace the cork there.
You need a motion for that? Chris?
Just a little repair.
Anyone?
No, that's good.
Well, I would like to welcome Chris back Thank you. And, Marlene, I just have a question. What
Yes.
nationality are you?
What am I?
Yeah.
I'm Canadian.
What else? What else?
What else?
You're Métis.
I am.
You are Métis descent, are you
Yes.
not?
Yes.
Because there's a lady that actually phoned one of our organizations and said, when was the last time an Indigenous person was elected on council? So, the organization didn't realize.
We've had several.
Oh, no, we've had several.
Malcolm.
Malcolm.
No,
And then let's talk about Facebook page, the village's Facebook page. There's a lady on there that's posted 13 times. Nobody's answered her, nobody's questioned her. She's from Victoria. She's one of the councillor's followers. And I just want these guys to have a clarification on when it's derogatory and misleading, can it be deleted?
counselor followers. Are you saying our followers?
No, no.
Oh.
An elect council.
Okay, I'm just clarifying.
So, can we have them just delete it if it's derogatory or whatever, right?
Well, I don't know. What's Facebook? Our Facebook page?
Yes, our Facebook page.
Village?
Our Facebook page, the villages.
Why wouldn't you then?
Why
I
don't they
thought
have
you-
control? Because they have to ask council.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
I thought that you took
yeah.
care of anything that was.
Well, I thought that too.
I think we'd want to take some advice on that, in terms of, I mean, it's really not my area of expertise. We are working with legal counsel on updating our social media policy. It's certainly something I could just talk to the lawyer about. I mean, obviously, I'd want legal counsel to have a look at some of these posts. But again, it's not my area of expertise, and I'd be hesitant to do anything rash in terms of deleting posts and things like that.
Totally.
I just want to get some advice on it if we were considering doing that. Because yes, there's some strong statements there, but I'm not an expert on what's defamatory
I wouldn't wanna
and
be
libel and
called.
slander, and we'd want to take some advice in terms of what we could do. What's the appropriate protocols for our, social media Facebook page.
So can I have a motion for staff to ask the lawyer?
Or check other municipalities what they do.
Yeah, if you want to give me a motion and direction to, I can certainly, because the timing is not bad. We were entering into a bit of a conversation with legal counsel anyway about updating our social media policy, because things change so quickly. So I can certainly raise that with her in the context of that. So, yeah, maybe a
Can I have a
motion
seconder on
would be
that?
good.
Okay, I'll do that motion, and then, can I have a seconder on that? Sure. All in favor?
Certainly, I will talk to her about that.
Motion to adjourn. Motion
To adjourn?
to, a motion to.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Do we not have it on camera?